viewers, and welcome to Montgomery Weekend Review. I'll tell you, the confusing landscape of immigration in the United States has become even more bizarrely confusing by decisions in courts trying to overthrow the Obama programs that he announced late last year. Mariana Cordier, a local attorney, is here with us to help develop and draw a roadmap ahead. Rotary Clubs in Maryland have provided support to countries in West Africa facing the Ebola outbreak crisis. Greg Wims, the incoming regional governor, or district governor of Rotary, is here to explain. Also tell us a little bit about this great honor that he's about ready to take on. Alzheimer's disease affects everyone in our community, everyone in families. Very few of us don't have someone near to us who hasn't been stricken by this disease. Henry Hailstock, who comments regularly for this program, is here to tell us about this devastating disease. There are bills in Annapolis in the House of Delegates currently that address issues that we have to face, information regarding our automobiles, currently blocked from being told to us by automotive dealers. Graciela Rivera-Oven, moderator of Revista Seminal Montgomery, is here to report. Mariana Cordier, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This immigration thing, we talk about this on a regular basis, but
Yes.
wow. The president makes an announcement late last year.
Right.
The day before it's going to be implemented, there's a judge in Texas who snatches it away? What's going on here?
So on the eve of being able to put the dreamers on the path to citizenship and parents of children who were born in the United States. So this is the two categories that we're talking about. We're not talking about people who've committed crimes in the U.S. We're not talking about those kinds of things. This judge, and I think they went judge shopping
Sure.
when they found this person to make this ruling, has said that the regulation is they're trying to expand it to fit and to regulate these applications and put them on the path for citizenship. It was beyond the president's authority, beyond the rulemaking process for doing this.
I saw the president, he was on MSNBC. He had a town hall meeting on immigration. And listening to him, he said that it was that the executive branch tightly designed this. So it'd be enforcement, discretion
right, that it
enforcement.
would fit. Well, it all comes down to interpretation, right? So they had to go judge shopping to find one judge to be able to say this, where my opinion would be there are many, many more who would say that that is not the case. And in fact, the administration has appealed this for that purpose. So unfortunately, what it does is it delays the process for the appeals to go through. But, I think the Republican Party, which is really, I think, the driving force behind this, is missing the point that immigration is very important to this country. It's the foundation of its history, really. When you step away from the Native American history, and it goes to trying to the laws that we have in immigration law right now needs to be amended. They need to be changed. They need to be adapted to the circumstances we have now, and they're not being done. And so,
I disagree. The Republicans are not missing the point. They're avoiding the point because anything that the president puts forth as far as immigration, as far as health reform, and any other civil rights, they're going against, even more so now, irrespective of whether it's right or wrong. They're just going against it totally.
I agree. I would agree with that. I think that they're purposely tying his hands in a way that they're making it impossible for him to really act as a president and to move forward. I mean, to the degree that an Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu comes to the United States with total disregard to the President of the United States, I have issue with that.
You bring up an interesting point there because it seems to me that immigration's not in its own world. That so much of what's going on between the executive branch and Capitol Hill and with the governors, it's all intertwined in this bitterness.
But what they fail to realize is that they're hurting themselves, especially when it comes to the elections because look at who's going to really be voting and coming out and forced to vote are the Latinos, are the African Americans.
Do you think so, Henry? Because much was spoken about this in the same topic in 2011, 12, 13, 14, and the Republicans swept Congress.
I think, though, for right now, the call is out. I mean, as a Latino voter, I am making it my priority and my agenda to be involved and to get those that I know are not involved and voting, so that we can really have our voices heard on this, because this is a super important issue.
The biggest difference, I think, between then and now has been that the true mask has been lifted of the
Yes,
Republican Party.
exactly.
Okay? And yes, they found a sympathetic judge, but I think they did the country a favor. Because I think people, whether Latinos or not, are sick and tired of that division and the bitterness and the lack of productivity that there is in Washington, D.C. And they're truly playing ping pong with people's lives. They're using this as a pawn for their own politics and for their own agendas. And I think actually that kind of rhetoric is going to bring out the African American vote and the Latino vote, and people who are sick and tired of the lack, of government, truly, in DC.
We've got about 30 seconds left in this segment. Anything that you see? I mean, will there be peace? Will we see comprehensive immigration reform?
No, I don't think so. The Republican Party is in control of the Congress, and so nothing's going to happen until the elections in 2 years. And I think that's where this is the opportunity for the community to make itself heard, and it really needs to step up. Everyone, not just the minorities, but everyone needs to step up and be heard.
Because immigration affects everyone, doesn't
everyone,
it? It's the future
at
of our
all
country.
levels, your restaurants,
Right.
your everything.
Right. Mariana, thank you.
Thank you.
That was very informative. Appreciate it. Mr. Wims. They call me Mr. Wims. You're a fashion statement every time you're on here. You're a leader in the community. As you're working to help victims of crimes and victims of tragedies, the work that you're doing nationally recognized, and you continue to do this with the Ebola crisis, through Rotary. So tell us a little bit about what Rotary's been doing.
Well, again, it's not me, it's as a team of Rotarians, and I wanted to report that our district, which is District 7620 within Rotary International, has come together with what we call a global grant, where most of the clubs in Maryland and a couple in D.C. have put together $30,000 to send, and the money is being sent as we speak, to buy uniforms for those healthcare workers in Liberia primarily. Some will go to Sierra Leone, where the outbreak is still going strong. But in Liberia, we think at this point, it's been 30 days since the last new case has been formed, but those uniforms for the health workers are very important, because as you know, some of the health workers, they themselves get Ebola trying to take care of some of the sick.
It's so many. I mean, it just wiped out lots of doctors, the Liberian doctors and nurses. Same thing in Sierra Leone and Guinea. I'm fearful, having lived in that region for many years, neighboring Sierra Leone, the rains are coming. Rainy season comes, and that's when diseases really start spreading. It's hard for folks here to understand that one day it's not raining, and for 6 months it doesn't rain, and then it rains every day for another 6 months and then turns off.
And it's like a deluge, isn't it?
It can be a deluge, many times raining. But I got my hat's off to you guys, because that's exactly the kind of help that's needed, isn't it?
It is, and as Rotarians, we're all the volunteers at our local level, Maryland and DC in our district. But I also wanted to say that one of the key things that we do is not only just in Africa or India or anywhere in the world, we do a lot here locally, our local volunteers in Rotary. And to give you one example, just like Manna Foods, we all know there are a lot of kids here. We have Rotarians that go out every week and help package those foods. In Silver Spring, we have with the YMCA, it's called the Youth and Family Service Division, where a lot of the parents don't have money for daycare. The Rotary provides about $100,000 every year to that organization alone.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's just volunteers helping the community, and that's we hoping that.
Before we get around it, because I know a lot of people want to know,
right.
everybody wants to talk about this, but I want to make sure we don't lose sight of the fact that there's a new district governor who's coming to power, and it's kind of a historical thing. Do you know anything about this?
Well, in 2 years, the way we work in Rotary International, and by the way, there are 3 now, me and Rotarians worldwide. They pick a governor for each district. And I'm honored that they selected me to be governor for the years 17, 18. The way they do it, you take your 2 years out, and so you can be trained, because we have approximately 63 clubs in our district. So yes, I'm proud to say I will be the governor of Rotary in our district.
And so Governor, Wims, what will be your agenda for your reign?
As Rotarians, we work together as a team. But hunger is going to be one that I'm going to for our young kids. We'll try to see what we can do in all of our clubs in their local communities to do what we do in Bethesda, where our club every week they give food to the local school there, where the kids are hungry. So if we could do that statewide, every Rotarian working in every school where their club is, that would be great. But we all work together. As governor, I cannot say what we're going to do. I can just sort of encourage.
What made you go into the Rotary Club in the beginning?
Good question, and at the time, it's really starting from NAACP, my church work. It's all about volunteerism. As most of you on the panel know, especially Gracie, we worked for years together. Rotary is about service, and so what we've been doing is continuing, but just with an organization that can help. Just to give you an example, I want to feed 30 kids at Tacoma Park. Me, Greg Wims couldn't do it, or maybe the NAACP may not have the fund, but we get with the Rotary Clubs, because there's 63 different clubs, we can find the money. So that's what it's about.
It's clubs like the Rotary, to me, are more of a calling, and it's that calling that keeps issues like Ebola, because we know that issue kind of disappeared in the general media, but those issues actually, because of people like in Rotary Clubs and so on, who are still supporting what goes on in Africa.
I did want to say, I know time is running out, that the Rotarians had a conference in Frederick at Fort Detrick, which I didn't know. They're working and have been working for the last 15 years on a cure for Ebola. Right. And at that conference, they were saying they think they're 1 or 2 years away. So we're getting close to finding a cure for Ebola.
Great.
Well, another disease, malaria, and they're working hard on those as well, Fort Detrick. But
yes.
I'd be remiss if I don't put a shout out, even though he's not in the viewing audience, to my father's brother, Daniel W. Mooers, who was the president of Rotary International, your grand poobah, for a year, and so I know how much it meant to him. So I wish you the best.
Thank you, and he did a great job, and that is a great honor to be the head of a worldwide organization.
Well, we'll be right back after these messages. And we're back. Henry Hailstock, welcome back.
Thank you.
The man of, you come in and you talk about subjects each time that are so important to our community, and they often have a national impact, international impact, but then coming to Montgomery County, this one, Alzheimer's, is no different. It seems to be getting worse.
Well, it is getting worse, because as the population gets older, Alzheimer's is affected with that. It's a shame, because it's a cruel disease, and it's also debilitating on our health budget. Yeah. You look at it, it takes away from the state, federal government, and takes away millions from family income. And it's really a disease that is really, I guess you could say, is disgraceful to individuals, because the disease starts with your memory, then goes and affects your everyday, daily task. And it's really something that really is works with your psyche. But you have to understand a couple things too. It is the lowest on the totem pole for federal funding. You have, I'm serious, because you have cancer, okay? Right. Cancer gets billions. Heart disease gets billions. Right. Even HIV treatment gets billions in federal funding.
Could it be that it's
Alzheimer's
an age factor?
gets only millions. which is not
Well,
enough.
But Henry, could it be that it's an age thing? Because cancer can strike anyone at any age. And I know Alzheimer's can strike
Younger people.
younger people, but it's perceived as a disease that
For the
strikes
elderly.
the elderly. And so you're already, forgive the phrase, on your way out, right? Why spend billions on this?
Well, just look at it. The
No.
population is getting older.
Yeah.
The longer we're, health-wise, we are able to live longer, and therefore it's affecting and it's draining Medicare and Medicaid. If we don't put a handle on it, it's fair to say, and a lot of the experts are saying it too, it's going to bankrupt Medicare and Medicaid.
You know,
And it's so
Because it's
hard on the
ongoing.
families, too.
I was going to
Oh.
say, it's
Because
so
Yes,
hard on the loved
absolutely.
ones because you look at the health of the loved ones as
Yeah.
well, the amount of,
Sure.
of time, stress,
Stress.
and dedication that they
Right.
have to spend
Absolutely.
taking care
And
of.
that will have a
Absolutely.
side impact that, I mean, I think it's one of those things that any disease, regardless of age or
but Alzheimer's,
factors.
because you have to continue care. I mean, I'm going to a wake tonight and a funeral tomorrow of my wife's best friend's mother, passed away after many years in Alzheimer's, and I'm sure I'm going to hear tonight, and similarly as I have with others, that this is really the second death, effectively.
I
that
understand what
that
you're
the
saying.
first,
Yes.
when
they lose
Alzheimer's
all of their
lost faculties, they can't recognize, they can't anything. I lived through this with my mother-in-law, and even with my wife, who philosophically or intellectually understands that it is not her fault that her mother doesn't recognize
Well,
her.
I'm glad you said
The
that
emotion
because
is killing.
I'll give you a personal example. My aunt, who was a very sharp individual, okay, kept me on point, with my mother. I saw her start getting more and more dependent on us because she first lost her memory.
Right.
She had neighbors taking advantage of her. She in
Yeah.
saying that, okay, look, you owe me some money. Oh, I do, and just giving it out. She paid her bill that it was equivalent of 2 years in advance, and then she started forgetting people, who we were and everything. Fortunately, she didn't forget me. I don't know why. It's just that part.
Right.
Yeah,
Then she-
forgettable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you never know.
and then she, start losing the ability to speak.
Right.
And then she starts losing the ability to feed herself.
Right.
And then she was just, to me, almost like a vegetable.
Right.
Just in, she couldn't move, she couldn't get around, she was just in bed. I mean, you had to have people turn on her. Now, and she passed away with that, unfortunately. Now I'm dealing with my mother-in-law who has a form of dementia. Now, Alzheimer's, people don't realize, is a combination of different
We've got about 20
forms
seconds left.
forms of that, okay? You have to realize and understand that Alzheimer's is a progressive thing, and we're not getting funded. And people don't realize that you need to take advantage of this because it's going to get worse.
Okay.
One thing I found out just recently
Final word.
is that they are having treatments of ultrasound to break up the plaque
Okay.
in the brain, which causes this disease. It's working in mice.
Okay.
They're going to try it in lamb and move up to eventually, hopefully that'll work. We don't know. Right now, there's no cure. and
Future
no
story. Well, I mean, you're going to be coming back on other stories, but I'm hoping you're going to include an update
More than
on
happy.
this.
treatment. More than happy.
Thank you, Henry. Appreciate it.
All right.
Hello there. Graciela Rivera-Oven, moderator
Hello.
of Revista Seminal Montgomery.
Okay.
He
How's
says
that?
it with a French accent.
I
I'm
know.
like,
So
It's a multi-ethnic. So
I'm
tell us
I'm going right into it.
what's the
Okay.
auto dealer thing?
So, Senate Bill 558 and 559, one of them being sponsored by Senator Susan Lee. Pretty much, I don't think many people, at least I didn't know as a consumer, the lack of information that car dealerships are prohibited from sharing with their consumers.
Prohibited by
The car makers.
the car makers.
Correct.
Because they want the car dealers just to be doing what the
Exactly.
national dealers
So,
do. Yeah.
example, General Motors, with the ignition switch cars and so on. Unfortunately, I met this wonderful lady who was the mom of these young women who they bought her a new car in 2005 for her 16th birthday. Her name was Amber, and she had a General Motors car, and her ignition malfunctioned and accelerated and killed her. They didn't know that had been a pattern. The family didn't know until later, many years later, where just recently, as last year, they started doing the recall on those cars, but they had known that information and the pattern of malfunctions from 2001. And the car dealerships, as you know, when you buy a car, you buy a warranty. So you take your car in, and they were seeing the pattern of this malfunction, but they were not able to share it with you, the consumer, because they were not allowed to.
By the car makers.
So
By
why
the
did,
car
so why did
maker.
they sue? Why didn't they sue the auto dealer? I mean, wouldn't that help? I mean, the dealer knew about this. What's keeping somebody from going to the auto dealer, notwithstanding the fact that there's a conspiracy of silence by the national car manufacturer?
You
The
mean the-
dealer knew that these things were going on. Why didn't your friend go after the car dealer?
The car dealership?
Yeah.
No, they didn't. They were not aware until the recall started happening that this had happened to their daughter.
Oh, they said that there were patterns.
So
and they
Exactly.
think about
They
the
saw
legality.
patterns,
So
right.
she died in 2005. They knew that the ignition switch was
Sure.
an issue in 2001, but the family doesn't find out about it until last year. And you only have so many years to be able to sue. So that conspiracy and that silence is awful because it's almost like they're playing the game to hide, the information.
And I think that's where, and also, every dealership has a website, and we all think that the information on the website comes straight from the dealer. It's actually maintained and controlled by the car maker.
All right, so this is going to compel dealers
this is-
to share information? I mean, we've got to get to the part
Exactly.
of it and have a discussion.
So it is pretty much it's like a freedom of speech kind of situation where they want to be allowed to tell the consumers because the trust that the consumer has is with the people who sold them their car. That is where the trust relies. And if you have an issue with your car, you probably want to go to their website and see what's going on and so on. Of course, the car makers don't want that regulation to go away, so they're trying to do this state by state. Mr. Fitzgerald from Auto Fitzgerald and so on, and a couple other dealerships are saying that they should be allowed to share this information. What's interesting, I've been to a couple of the Senate hearings, is that the car makers are saying, well, if the consumer really wants that information, they can go on the government's website. Okay, now anybody who has navigated a government website knows that that's like pulling teeth out of an elephant.
why should the government
But-
website be the one that
but-
has to disclose?
But what's interesting is, well, the information is probably already there, so why can't they just go? Well,
Yeah.
if the information's already there, then why do you have an issue as the car maker from allowing then the dealership to put the same information on their
On the
website?
website.
Well,
You
how
know,
is-
you know, I have a problem with that because when I was searching for an SUV, because I wanted to, get an
Right.
SUV now, I went to Lexus. I guess I can say it. Lexus. I went to Toyota and everything else, and I started whittling it down. I said, okay, I'll try Toyota, and I was going to get a Highlander. Okay, I was thinking about it. I was that close to getting it. Then I heard something on the news that there may be a recall on the Highlander, Toyota. So I went to the dealer that I was thinking about buying the car from, and he said, what recall? I said, I just heard it on the news. I said, I don't know, let me investigate it. Never heard back from him.
Well,
So,
last
obviously I
year,
didn't buy one.
last year there were over 60 million recalls on cars. Okay, so this situation can happen to any of us.
Well, and as a consumer, the most frightening thing I thought I heard was that I take my car into the dealer for a standard, service or whatever, and unless I ask them about a specific recall with regard to my car, they can actually not tell me and not repair
Right.
the car from the recall. Which, what does that send out to the consumers? That you can't trust neither the car maker nor the dealer.
That's the last word. Because who can you trust? You can trust us at Montgomery Week in Review. I want to thank you guys for being here with me today. And I want to thank all of you in the viewing audience for joining us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I'm Don Mooers, inviting you to join us next week at this very same time.
See, I didn't even get into it.